Three things you will need to know or implement to make women respect you. Now, if you're in a long-term relationship, I hear about a lot of men, their women lose respect for them over time, and then they stop having sex with them. Men will not only, I think this is a major contributing factor to the divorce rate. It is men just not making sure that their women respect them and standing their ground. And that also tends to go into women just not wanting to sleep with their husbands anymore because they don't respect them, and too much of a pushover. They don't respect men that are too easy and too much of a pushover. I know in sort of dating theory, they call it a bit of a shit test, where you need to overcome a shit test and battle her, but that's a very surface level, fake it till you make it type of way of making women respect you. There's three ways that you can, and you have to live this. You cannot just take this on board and go, okay, I'm going to fake it till I make it. You probably could, but you have to truly believe in these three things. And I'll start with, probably start with one, would have to be negotiating, standing your ground, being disagreeable, especially when you're right. Now, here's a few examples of me being disagreeable. My last sort of long-term girlfriend, she found out about this channel and broke up with me. It was kind of a secret. She was a feminist, and you know, she was, you know, after seeing her for a long time, she kept pushing this feminist sort of ideology. And what do you think I did? Well, I continuously gave the total opposite opinion. In possibly the most misogynistic way, but also in a very respectful way. But I was very disagreeable all the time, especially when I know I'm right. And a lot of the times, I'd say 99% of the times, I was right about, you know, feminism being wrong, and I would disagree all the time. And so therefore, you know, when you're dating a girl, she respects you when you stand your ground, and you, especially when you know you're right. Another example is, recently I got an Airbnb, and I paid for the Airbnb. I don't recommend you guys use Airbnb. It is a scumbag of a company. I turn up, and they hid in the house rules that I have to pay them $50 US in cash on arrival. I didn't see it. It was in the house rules. And the guy that like turns up is like 6'3" or something, big dude. So I guess he was used to intimidating people to get this extra cash. And what they would do is then they would charge for electricity and maybe even water, and then they'll probably look for something that you may or may not have broken to take as much money out of you as possible, or they'll scam you out of your $50 US. I just said, no, I'm not paying you money. Screw you. I didn't see it in the description. I'm just not paying it. And they came back multiple times. I filmed them yelling and screaming at me at the front door. It was a big thing. But even right now, after this bad situation with Airbnb, I know I was right, and I stood my ground. I didn't pay those pieces of shit any more money than they deserved. You know, and they made a big fuss about it. And this is about being disagreeable and standing your ground, especially when you know you're right. Also, maybe another aspect of being disagreeable and standing your ground is know when the government's doing something wrong and actually saying something about it, and not being a pussy and hiding your face, saying it publicly and putting your face out there and putting yourself at personal risk for the greater good of everybody else. Women respect that. And you don't do it just because you want to get laid. You do it because you are the type of man who wants the world to be a better place. I don't want scammers taking cash off people in Airbnb. I don't want the government ripping me off. And I don't want my girlfriend that I'm seeing espousing all of this feminist cult propaganda lies. And so I'm going to argue with all of these people, even if my life is arguing with people all the time. And as a good byproduct of that, having to go through all of that for the greater good of, well, you too, is girls are more attracted to me because of that. And so, you know, that's it's the opposite of my father, who I never grew up with, who's as much of a weak, pathetic excuse for a man that you could ever imagine. Even recently, if you guys heard about his ex-wife divorcing him after my grandmother died to steal his inheritance that he just got, and then he's like, oh, you need to go live. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stay in my grandmother's apartment. I'm going to fight them at the front door because I know I'm right, and I still know I'm right. I caused a huge fuss. My father's not talking to me anymore because he's a pathetic beta male excuse for a man that just thought, oh, the law says this. The law's wrong. And if more men stood up to the law and the corrupt divorce court, the world would be a better place, especially in the West. So that's one. And I think that encapsulates and explains in enough detail what being disagreeable is. And it's also being respectful. I wasn't out there attacking people, although I would like to. I would like to track them down in a dark alleyway. 2, I'd say the next one would be being sort of you could say being a leader of men, a thought leader. You could say, and that could be in any, that's not just that one guy that's leading the charge, going into battle. It's not that scientist that discovers the great new idea. You know, you can have a good game playing some sort of sport on the weekend and you're kind of leading. You can, one thing I have taken on board, it's a big part of the way I act especially in Australian society, is I complain about the government and all of the things that they are doing which I think are wrong, and that's being a thought leader and a leader of other people. So you can also just have a bunch of friends that are always calling you up and wanting to hang out, and have poker games at home. You have groups of the boys that you hang out with, and you're part of like a tribe, and you don't necessarily have to be like the leader, the fake alpha, because that guy doesn't really exist. You have to be a part of a group of the boys, and you're hanging out, you're having fun, and she will see that you're part of the boys. You might not be the #1 ranked group of guys in whatever that is, even if you're playing video games, even if you're playing some sport, you could be in some nerdy pursuits as well. You don't have to be the top dog. You can just be part of a team, a pack, a tribe, and it triggers something. I've noticed it. It works with every demographic of women. They are all attracted to a man who has a tribe, like a group of the boys. They want to, you will notice, if you have a bunch of the boys around and a couple of the boys have their girlfriends, the girlfriends will immediately, if you're a bunch of rowdy boys and we're going somewhere doing something, the girls will instantly get in their little group behind you. While we're going somewhere, they will be following us from behind. They love being in that situation, part of the tribe, following the boys that are leading them somewhere. It doesn't have to be leading them somewhere fancy. It could just be to the local sporting event or something. It could be down to play poker. It could be to go and it could even be to the pub, even though I don't necessarily recommend it. And women want to be a part of that. It could be to a barbecue. It could be to the pool here, and the boys are getting rowdy and the girls are just sitting there like, oh, the boys are crazy today. They like being part of a tribe. And being a leader of men is probably not the best phrasing for that. But number one, be disagreeable in the way that I kind of explained it, in a, I would say, an ethical way. You're disagreeable for a good reason. Two, you're part of a tribe, part of a group. Let's say leader of men, but women don't know the difference between a leader of men and what an alpha male is. They think they know, but they don't. You have a group of boys together and you're just messing around, having fun. They're like, ah, he's a leader of men. They don't know anything. They don't know the difference. You're just part of the guys. You might know your ranking within the group. You don't need to be the alpha. But they don't. They just assume you are the alpha because they don't know the difference. They don't know the rankings, really. They think they do. They talk about it, but they don't know anything. And I'd say three would also be a form of, and probably the one I should have led with, is there's a certain sense of, I would say, self-esteem, or when you know you are right, you want to stand your ground because you have a certain sense of, I can change this. There's a sense of, as a man, I should be saying something here. This is wrong. And because you can see the negative consequences of not standing your ground, that takes a form of self-esteem, confidence. My way of, my kind of confidence or self-esteem in a way, that comes from knowing that if I don't say anything, things get really bad really fast. And growing up in an environment where there's a lot of, you know, poor people that had terrible ideas and did terrible things, and the pack mentality, I realized that you need to say something or things are going to get bad. And there's a large percentage of society that's just stupid, violent, and bad for everybody else. And as a man, if you're not standing up and saying, hang on, which comes from a sense of, I can change this, self-esteem, confidence, because if you don't think you can change the situation, you're not going to say anything. You're going to let it go. And I think most people, objectively, when you sit down and think about it, whether you can or cannot do anything about it, talking about it and spreading the word about whatever issue there is can only be good for society. And a guy with low self-esteem, low, you know, not much confidence in his ability, is not going to say anything or do anything about that. And so these three things, I would say, after putting some deep thought into it, are the things that I would say, the factors that would, you know, would help me to get beautiful women. And when I get a beautiful woman, obviously through Cold Approach, which I recommend that you guys sign up and do some Cold Approach coaching with myself. There's also the aspect of, once I'm dating a girl, she's constantly or continuously attracted to me because of these kind of weird traits that I've developed through just dealing with adversity my whole life. And I think they are very useful for you to implement yourself. I also recommend, if you're new to this dating advice and you don't have enough girls to even try this, I recommend you check out my 30-day challenge. Go to the website, leave a comment if you are unsure where it is, you can't find it, I will link you. The 30-day challenge is basically 30 days of you going out talking to women, trying to get their numbers, trying to take them out on dates, trying to take them home, and trying to lock in a girlfriend. Once you've locked in a girlfriend, then you can implement this video as best as you possibly can, and hopefully she stays attracted to you and respects you forever. And I think if a lot more men behave this way, we would have less men getting divorced, and having more respect from women, and society would be a better place. So start with the 30-day challenge, leave a comment if you can't find it, and if you're interested in doing mentorship, phone calls, online mentorship with myself, I have it's a lot more complex than just taking phone calls. We do a lot. We take on, it takes a long time, and we do we have a lot of homework for you and a lot of activities for you to partake in, to increase your chances of meeting women every day. Bring them into your life. Then you can implement 3 ways to gain respect from the women that you actually meet. So this is a great video, a good way for you guys to start, and it's good that you're watching this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. It's important for the algorithm that I get some thumbs up. And this has been a little bit longer than I usually would make a video, so I'm going to cut it off here. 30-day challenge, online coaching, highly recommended. It will change your life. See you guys in the next one.